He never expected that one food delivery shift would change his life forever. The boy's name was Amir, a quiet 16-year-old who worked part-time delivering food to help his mother with bills. Every evening after school he rode his old bicycle through the city streets, carrying warm meals to apartments and houses. Most deliveries were simple. Drop the food, say thank you, and leave. But that evening felt different from the moment he accepted the order. The address on his screen showed a place he had never seen before, a mansion far outside the city, hidden behind tall trees. The pay for the delivery was unusually high, almost 10 times more than normal. Amir stared at the number for a long moment. Something about it felt strange, but he needed the money. So he accepted as he rode toward the location. The sun was setting, painting the sky red and orange. Amir had seen wealthy houses before, but this neighborhood was silent in an unsettling way. No children playing, no cars, no dogs barking, not even the sound of people talking. It felt like a place where even the wind hesitated to blow. Amir's bike tires moved over smooth stone paths as he followed the map. The mansion finally came into view, massive and elegant but also cold. It had high walls, large windows covered with curtains, and a long driveway that felt like it led to another world. Amir slowed down. For a moment he wondered if he should cancel the order. But canceling meant losing money he really needed for his mother's medicine. He took a deep breath, parked his bike near the gate, and walked toward the huge wooden door. Before he could knock, the door opened by itself. Amir froze, gripping the food bag tightly. A tall man appeared, dressed in a black suit that looked almost too perfect. His face was calm, but his eyes seemed tired, as if he had not slept for many nights. He looked at Amir for a moment before speaking slowly. "You're here with the delivery." "Come in." His voice was deep and emotionless. Amir hesitated. Delivery boys were never invited inside, especially not in houses like this. Protocol said he should hand over the food at the door. But the man turned and walked inside without waiting. Something made Amir step in after him. Maybe curiosity, maybe fear, maybe destiny. The interior of the mansion was breathtaking. Chandeliers sparkled like stars. Paintings covered the walls. Marble floors reflected the dim lights. But despite the beauty, the air felt heavy, almost sad. The man in the suit walked ahead without looking back. Amir followed quietly until they reached a long hallway. At the end of it, a golden door waited, slightly open, glowing under a chandelier like it was hiding a secret. "You will put the food on the table inside," the man said quietly. "And do not touch anything." Amir nodded. He pushed the golden door gently and stepped into a room that looked nothing like the rest of the mansion. It was small, warm, filled with sunlight from a large window. Toys were scattered on the carpet. A little bed sat in the corner, and beside it, a wheelchair. Amir felt a soft sting in his chest. This was a child's room. But where was the child? Before he could take another step, he heard a faint sound like someone trying not to cry. Amir turned slowly. In the corner of the room, hidden behind a tall shelf, sat a young boy around 8 or 9 years old. His clothes were clean but wrinkled, his hair messy, and his eyes red from tears. He looked at Amir with a mixture of fear and hope. "Who are you?" the child asked, his voice trembling. "I'm just delivering food," Amir replied. He kept his voice soft. "Are you okay?" The child hesitated before whispering, "They don't let me go outside." Amir's heart dropped. He glanced at the wheelchair, then back at the boy. Something was very wrong in that mansion. He moved closer slowly, making sure not to scare him. The boy wiped his tears and looked at the door, then back at Amir. His hands were shaking. "Please don't tell them I talked to you," the boy said. "They get angry." Amir felt a cold shiver run down his spine. "Who gets angry?" Before the child could answer, the man in the black suit appeared at the door. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Amir and the child. Amir stepped back immediately, trying to hide the concern on his face. "Your delivery is complete," the man said. "You may leave." Amir nodded quickly and walked out of the room, but the image of the crying child burned in his mind. Something inside him refused to ignore what he had seen. As he reached the main hallway, a framed picture on the wall caught his eye. It showed the same child smiling happily next to two adults, possibly his parents. They looked wealthy, proud, and loving. But that did not match the lonely sadness he had just witnessed. Before leaving, Amir asked quietly, "Is the boy okay?" The man turned slowly. His expression turned cold, almost warning. "He is fine. Do not involve yourself in matters that do not concern you." Amir felt fear, but also anger. Something about the man's tone made him feel protective of the child. He walked out of the mansion, his heart racing. As the door closed behind him, he could still hear the faint echo of the boy's shaking voice on his bicycle ride back. Amir could not focus on anything except the child's lonely face. Why was he crying? Why was he being hidden? Why was he not allowed outside? Every question made Amir pedal slower. He felt something pulling him back, like the situation was not finished, like the mansion was hiding more than a crying child that night. As Amir reached home, his mother noticed he was unusually quiet. She asked if he was tired, but he simply shook his head. He could not explain what he had seen. He could not shake the feeling that the boy in the mansion needed help. And as Amir lay in bed staring at the ceiling, the boy's scared voice echoed again and again. "Please don't tell them I talked to you." Amir closed his eyes tightly. Something was very wrong, and deep inside he knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, Amir woke up with a strange heaviness in his heart. He tried to focus on school, but every time he looked at the blackboard, he saw the child's frightened eyes instead. During lunch, he barely ate. His friends joked around him, but their voices felt distant. All he could think about was that small room filled with toys, the wheelchair, and the boy whispering, "They get angry." When school ended, Amir walked home slowly. His mother greeted him with a warm smile, but he forced one back. She noticed immediately. "Are you okay, Amir?" she asked. He nodded, but she wasn't convinced. She brushed his hair softly and said, "You have always cared too much about others. It's a beautiful thing, but be careful with your heart." Amir wanted to tell her everything, but he didn't want to worry her. They already had too many problems. Instead, he promised himself that he would just focus on work and ignore the thoughts eating at him. But fate had other plans. When Amir opened his delivery app that evening, the very first order that appeared was from the same mansion. Same name, same gate, same high pay. His heart dropped. For a moment, his finger hovered over the decline button, but his mind replayed the child's trembling voice. What if he was in trouble? What if the boy needed someone to talk to? What if something worse was happening behind those golden doors? Amir accepted the order. The sky was cloudy as he rode toward the mansion. This time the air felt colder, the path darker. When he arrived, the door opened again before he even knocked. The same man in the black suit stood there, staring at him, with that same unreadable expression. But this time, he did not invite Amir in. He simply extended his hand, waiting for the bag. Amir hesitated. He looked past the man, trying to catch even a small glimpse of the hallway. But everything looked still, silent, controlled. "Hand the food," the man said firmly. Amir obeyed. But just as he was about to leave, a small sound echoed through the mansion, a soft, weak call. "Hello?" The voice belonged to the child. The man stiffened. Amir's heart jumped. The man quickly stepped aside and closed the door halfway, as if trying to block Amir's view, but it was too late. Amir had seen the child standing at the end of the hallway, holding onto the wall for support. His legs looked weak, and he was breathing heavily. The man spoke sharply over his shoulder. "Get back to your room." The child froze. He lowered his head and turned around slowly. Amir felt a painful twist in his chest. Before the door shut fully, Amir whispered softly, "Are you okay?" The child paused for a second, but the door slammed shut before he could answer. This time Amir didn't ride away quickly. He stayed outside the gate for a long moment, gripping the handlebars of his bicycle tightly. Something felt urgent. Something felt dangerous. The boy didn't look just sad, he looked unwell. There was tiredness in his posture, a weakness in his steps that made Amir feel even more worried. As Amir finally rode away, He noticed a pair of curtains on the mansion's top floor move slightly. Someone had been watching him. That night at home, Amir couldn't sleep. He replayed the scene again and again, the child leaning against the wall, the man's cold voice. The quiet fear in the boy's eyes. Amir knew something was wrong. But what could he do? He was just a 16-year-old delivery boy with no power, no influence, and no idea what he was stepping into. His mother found him sitting awake at midnight. She placed a hand on his shoulder. "What is troubling you, my son?" Amir finally broke. He told her everything: the mansion, the crying child, the wheelchair, the man in the suit. His mother listened silently. When he was done, she sighed deeply. "Amir, some houses are rich in money but poor in kindness. You must be careful. People with power can hide many things." "But I can't just ignore him," Amir said. "He looks sick and scared." His mother looked at him with soft eyes. "If you truly believe the boy needs help, then you must be brave." "But bravery without wisdom is danger." Amir nodded slowly. He knew she was right. He needed to understand more before doing anything. The next day, Amir went to work again. He kept checking his app, half hoping the mansion wouldn't show up. But late evening, just before his shift was about to end, another order from the mansion appeared. Again, the pay was unusually high. This time the fear inside him mixed with a strange determination. He accepted Dot as he approached the mansion. He noticed something new. The gate, which had always been fully closed, was slightly open. It creaked softly as the wind pushed it. Amir walked in carefully. When he reached the door, it did not open automatically. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again. Still nothing. The mansion, usually dimly lit, was almost dark. He felt a chill run through his body. Something was different. Finally, after what felt like a long silence, the door opened. But it wasn't the man in the suit. It was an older woman dressed like a maid. Her hands trembled slightly as she opened the door wider. "Oh, you brought the food?" she said quietly. Her voice was soft but trembling. Amir nodded, confused. The woman looked around nervously, as if afraid someone was watching. She leaned closer and whispered, "You should leave quickly, child. Is everything okay inside?" Amir asked of the woman's eyes filled with worry. "No," she whispered. "It hasn't been okay for a long time." Before Amir could ask another question, footsteps echoed behind her. Heavy, slow, echoing through the silent hallway. The woman stiffened immediately and stepped aside. And then the man in the black suit appeared, his expression darker than before. "You again?" he said coldly. "Why are you still here?" Amir swallowed hard. "I just came to deliver the food." The man snatched the bag from his hands. "Then your job is done. Leave." But before he could turn away, a voice echoed from upstairs. A weak, desperate voice. "Please, help me." The boy. Amir's heart stopped. The man in the suit quickly turned toward the staircase, anger flashing in his eyes. The maid looked terrified. The house fell into a tense silence, and Amir realized in that moment he couldn't walk away anymore. Amir froze at the doorstep, his heart pounding as the boy's trembling voice echoed from the top of the stairs. The man in the black suit glared upward, his jaw tightening. The entire mansion seemed to hold its breath. Amir felt the maid step back behind him slightly, as if even standing too close to the anger filling the room was dangerous. The man barked loudly, "Get back to your room." But instead of obeying, the boy leaned weakly against the railing and shook his head. His face was pale, lips trembling, and he was breathing hard. It was the first time Amir truly saw him clearly. The boy looked fragile, like a child who had been sick for a long time. His thin arms clung to the railing, and for a moment Amir thought he might fall. I don't feel good," the boy whispered. Amir felt something inside him snap. This wasn't just sadness. This wasn't just fear. This was a child who was suffering and no one was helping him. The man in the suit rushed up the stairs, grabbing the child roughly by the arm. The boy cried out in pain. It was a small, weak cry, but it hit Amir like lightning. He took one step inside without even thinking. "Stop," Amir shouted, surprising even himself. The maid gasped. The man turned, sharply, fury blazing in his eyes. "You don't tell me what to do," he growled. Amir's legs shook, but he didn't back down. The boy looked at him with pleading eyes, eyes that spoke of silent pain, endless days and nights filled with fear. That single look filled Amir with courage he didn't know he had. "He's sick," Amir said, his voice trembling but steady. "You're hurting him." The man narrowed his eyes, stepping down one step. "This is none of your business." "He needs a doctor," Amir insisted. "You're not helping him." The man gripped the railing so tight the wood creaked. "Leave now." Amir opened his mouth, but before he could speak, the boy suddenly lost his grip on the railing. His body swayed. His knees buckled. The man reached for him, but it was too late. His legs gave out. Amir reacted instantly. He ran up the stairs and caught the child just before he hit the ground. The boy collapsed in his arms, shaking, too weak to stand. Amir could feel how hot his forehead was, burning with fever. The boy clutched Amir's shirt and whispered in a broken voice, "I can't breathe." At that moment, everything changed. The man's anger faded and was replaced by panic. The maid rushed forward with a towel, her hands trembling. "Please," she begged, looking at the man, "we need to call the doctor." But Amir realized with horror that the man didn't reach for a phone. Instead, he moved toward Amir, trying to pull the child away. "He's fine," the man insisted. "He just needs rest." Amir stepped back, shielding the boy with his body. "No, he needs help right now." The man leaned close, lowering his voice into something cold. "You have no idea what you're interfering with. If you don't leave this house this instant, you will regret it." The boy coughed violently, his whole body trembling. His breathing grew worse, shallow and painful. The maid looked helpless, tears filling her eyes. Amir could feel the boy's small fingers tightening around his sleeve, as if he was hanging on to the only person who cared. Amir knew he had seconds to decide: leave and abandon him, or stay, and face consequences he couldn't predict. For Amir, the choice felt natural. He stood taller, even though fear flooded his chest. "If you stop me from helping him," he said softly, "and something happens to him, that will be on you." The man's expression flickered, half anger, half something else, something like fear. The man looked toward a closed door at the end of the hallway, then back at the boy. A heavy silence filled the space. Finally, in a strained voice, he muttered, "Fine, take him to the guest room." Amir blinked, surprised. He expected the man to explode, to throw him out, but instead he stepped aside. Amir carried the boy slowly toward the guest room, guided by the maid. The boy's head rested on Amir's shoulder, warm and trembling. In the guest room, the maid quickly placed a wet cloth on the boy's forehead. Amir helped lower him onto the bed. He watched, terrified, as the child's breathing grew more strained. "How long has he been sick?" Amir asked quietly. The maid wiped her eyes. "Weeks, maybe months. They don't allow him to go out. No proper doctor checks him. They said they would handle it themselves." "Who is they?" Amir whispered. The maid hesitated, glancing nervously at the door. "You shouldn't stay here. If they find out you know too much, they won't let you leave." "Tell me," Amir begged. "Please." She swallowed hard. "The owner of this house, he's not just rich, he's powerful. Very powerful. And the boy is not just a child to them." Amir's heart pounded. "What do you mean?" Before she could answer, the man in the suit entered the room, his face stiff. "The doctor is on the way," he said. "A private doctor, don't say anything else." The maid went silent immediately. The man looked down at the boy, then at Amir. His voice softened slightly, but only slightly. You did the right thing by catching him. I shouldn't have let him walk alone. It was a mistake." It was the closest thing to an apology Amir had heard from him, but something still felt wrong. Terribly wrong. Amir sat beside the boy, holding his small hand gently. "You'll be okay," he whispered. The boy opened his eyes slightly, looking at Amir with a fragile smile. "Thank you for not leaving me." Amir felt tears rise in his eyes. The man cleared his throat. The doctor will be here soon. After that, we need to talk. His tone made Amir uneasy. It didn't sound like a friendly conversation. It sounded like a warning dot. As the door closed behind him, the maid whispered urgently, "Whatever you do, be careful. This house hides secrets you don't understand." Amir looked at the sick child lying beside him and felt a chill run through his spine. He had stepped into something big, something dangerous, something he couldn't walk away from anymore, and he had no idea how deep it went. The room was quiet except for the boy's labored breathing. Amir sat beside him, watching his chest rise and fall too quickly. Every second felt heavy. The maid paced nervously, constantly glancing at the door. It was as if she feared someone else might walk in, someone far more dangerous than the man in the suit. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, hurried footsteps echoed in the hallway. A man entered, carrying a medical bag. He was older, with thick glasses and shaking hands. He looked at the boy, then at Amir, then back at the man in the suit behind him. "This is the boy?" the doctor asked. "Yes," the man in the suit answered tightly. "Fix him, and don't ask questions." The doctor nodded quickly and approached the bed. He checked the boy's pulse, his eyes widening. He listened to his heartbeat, then touched his forehead. "This child has a severe infection," the doctor said urgently. "His fever is dangerously high. He needs proper hospitalization immediately." "No hospital," the suited man snapped. The doctor froze. "If he stays here, his condition could worsen." "He could—" "No hospital," the man repeated. Louder this time. Amir couldn't believe what he was hearing. "Why?" he blurted out. The man shot him a cold look. "This is not your concern?" "It is," Amir said, standing up. "He could die." The boy opened his eyes slightly. Tears rolled down his cheeks. Amir gently held his hand. The doctor hesitated, then lowered his voice. "He needs 4 fluids, antibiotics, and constant monitoring. This house does not have the equipment." The man in the suit clenched his jaw. "Do whatever you can. Here." The doctor looked helpless. He pulled supplies from his bag, but Amir could see it in his eyes. This wasn't enough. Amir's single quotes as heart pounded. He knew the boy would not survive without real medical help. He took a deep breath and turned to the man. "If something happens to him," Amir said quietly, "no money in this world can cover that guilt." The man didn't respond. Instead, he stepped outside the room, closing the door behind him. The moment he left, the doctor whispered urgently to Amir and the maid, "This boy cannot stay here. He needs to be moved, now." "But how?" Amir asked. The doctor swallowed hard. "If they won't allow it, someone else must take him. Someone who cares. Someone like Amir." The maid looked at him with terrified eyes. "If they catch you—" But Amir shook his head. "If we don't help him, he won't live to see tomorrow." The boy, half-conscious, squeezed Amir's hand as if begging him silently. Amir made his decision. He lifted the boy in his arms. The child was lighter than he expected, weak from illness. The doctor stuffed a few medical supplies into Amir's bag. The maid rushed to the window and opened it slightly. "This way," she whispered. "There are fewer cameras at the back." Amir climbed out carefully, holding the boy close. The maid whispered, "God protect you," before closing the window. Outside, the night was cold, and the mansion's garden was strangely silent. Amir moved slowly, hiding behind bushes and statues. Every rustle of wind felt like danger. Every shadow looked like someone watching. When he reached the back gate, he heard voices shouting from inside the house. They had discovered the boy was missing. Without wasting another second, Amir pushed the gate open and ran. He ran through the dark street, the boy's breathing growing weaker in his arms. Amir didn't stop. He didn't think about consequences. He didn't think about danger. He only thought about getting the boy to safety. After what felt like forever, he reached a small clinic near his neighborhood. The nurse on duty gasped when she saw them. "What happened to him?" "He's very sick," Amir said breathlessly. "Please help him. Please." Within seconds, they rushed the boy inside. Doctors took over, machines beeped. Nurses moved quickly around him. Amir stood outside the emergency room, his shirt soaked with sweat. his heart pounding. He had never been so scared in his life. Minutes turned into an hour. The man in the suit could arrive at any moment. Powerful people could storm through the clinic doors, but Amir stayed. He refused to leave. Finally, a doctor stepped out. He looked tired but relieved. "He's stable now," the doctor said gently. Another hour without treatment, and he might not have made it. Amir closed his eyes, overwhelmed with emotion. The doctor continued, "Are you his brother?" Amir shook his head. "No, just someone who delivered his food." The doctor stared at him for a moment, then smiled softly. "Well, whatever you are, you saved his life." Amir sat beside the boy once they allowed him in. The child opened his eyes weakly and whispered, "You came back." Amir nodded with a trembling smile. "I wasn't going to leave you." The boy's eyes glistened. "I knew someone good would come one day." Before Amir could respond, a sudden noise echoed outside. Doors slammed. Heavy footsteps approached. Amir's heart raced. The man in the suit stormed into the room. 2 security guards stood behind him. Amir stood up protectively, moving in front of the boy. "You took him," the man growled. "Do you have any idea what trouble you've just created?" "Yes," Amir said quietly, "the kind that saves a child's life." The man stepped closer, his fists clenched. But before he could speak, the clinic doctor entered. "This child is under medical care now," the doctor said firmly. "No one will move him until he fully recovers." "You don't know who I work for," the man threatened. "And I don't care," the doctor replied. "This is a clinic, not your mansion," the man glared at Amir, rage burning in his eyes. But he also knew something had changed. Now there were witnesses. Medical staff, observers. He couldn't hide the boy anymore. He turned slowly and walked out, slamming the door so hard the walls shook. The boy watched him leave and whispered, "Thank you for saving me." Amir sat beside him, tears in his eyes. "You're safe now. No matter what happens, you're safe." Days passed. The boy recovered slowly, his strength returning. Investigators eventually arrived, asking questions the man in the suit couldn't silence. Secrets from the mansion began to unfold, secrets of neglect, control, and a child hidden from the world. Amir visited the boy every day until he was healthy enough to smile, sit up, and finally breathe without pain. One evening, as the sun set, outside the clinic window, the boy reached for Amir's hand. "You were the only one who cared," he whispered. Amir smiled. "Sometimes one person is enough." And in that moment, both of them knew this wasn't the story of a delivery boy and a mansion. It was the story of courage, the story of a child finally free, and the story of a boy whose kindness changed a life forever.